Discover Scott Tucker's diverse art journey from bands to galleries and writing. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast. So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, we have Scott Tucker, a multifaceted artist, musician, writer, scholar, gallery maker, promoter, and more. He's someone whose creative process spans across music, visual art, and literature, constantly feeding into each other, from his early days in bands like The Orange to his current work with Aztec Milk Temple, as well as his efforts curating galleries and writing for publications. Scott embodies the true spirit of artistic exploration and authenticity. Without further ado, here he is. The Dallas Famous Podcast is supported by the Mullen & Mullen Music Project. The Music Project was created by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm to champion the independent music scene in North Texas. Hello again. We are at Dallas Famous at the Deep Ellum Community Center. I've got Scott Tucker. He's a musician. He's a writer. He's an artist. He's an art gallery maker. I don't know how to say that.
I like that title.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I like that title.
Oh, art promoter. Oh, and scholar.
I like that title.
You're a scholar, yeah.
Even more.
Yeah, you just finished grad school, right?
Yeah, I did. I finished grad school 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've missed you. You've been busy.
Yeah, I've spent the past 2 years and mostly in libraries and doing a few projects out and about, but mostly reading. Lots of reading.
I mean, let's just start with what motivated you to pursue that. Like after you've been done with school for a little bit and you're like out in the world living life with a bunch of different careers, why go back to school?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to always be challenging yourself, doing new things, learning. I think that when I wouldn't necessarily say hit a wall, but there's sort of like, at least for me, there's been a few times where I'm like, okay, what else am I going to do? And it's something I always wanted to do. And the stars just kind of aligned with everything else I was doing, kind of creating a window for me to jump in and read basically and write for 2 years solid.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, we had like a nice little flow going where I would shoot shows and you would write the reviews, and we were kind of trying to come up with like all these ideas, and then you're like, I'm gonna be busy for a few years, and you were.
Yeah,
but
I remember that.
You're out the other side now, so yeah, and that went well. Apparently, you graduated near the top of your class, and
Yep. I did a lot of work. I did a lot of reading. I know I had talked to you about it, but probably not the worst of it, but it was very challenging, the reading part. Generally about 1,000 pages of reading a week, sometimes more. Writing, but I would gladly say that it was the best 2 years of my life.
Okay. I mean,
my adult life, I would say.
Well, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Welcome back.
Yeah. Welcome back. I mean, I'm back for a while. Who knows? I may go back for a PhD now.
Man. All right. Well,
I loved it. I liked it that much.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I know some people like don't want to. They go to school forever because they don't want to live in the real world, but you've already had real world experiences over a few different lifetimes, it seems like.
Feels like I've lived a few lives, yeah.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. Let's go to the very, very beginning. You're from Dallas.
Yeah,
right?
Actually, the burbs originally from Arlington.
Mid-cities.
Yeah, mid-cities.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But DFW, that counts. So what was your earliest exposure to the arts, art, music?
Yeah, sure. It's funny that I started kind of off in music because I was way more into art growing up. My dad was a professional artist, and so, his studio was always full of interesting materials that both me and my sister were always messing around with. I mean, he would be working on a commercial art project, and I would just always be around in his studio. And I also, when I was real little, I kept my toys in his studio. So there was like this connection between like toys and art, and he listened to a lot of music in his studio, actually, when I think about it. Mostly Fleetwood Mac, the Beatles. yeah, so they all kind of went together, I think, from an early age, I would say.
And so you were like hanging out in the art studio, and then you'd pick up brushes or whatever and start joining in, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, I loved the smell of paint as a kid.
That explains a lot.
My dad was really an oil painter for a good portion of his career. He was focused on oil paintings, and then when he got a more I guess I would say diverse sort of art career, he was really had some pretty crazy deadlines with doing indoor murals, so he switched to acrylics, and you know, there was always oil paint, acrylic paint, canvases, clay. I mean, he did bronzes, bronze sculptures. So I was always around that a lot. And then when I got to the age where I could actually work and help him, like at 13, 14 years old, I mean, that's what I did on the weekends. And he paid me, so I was always the kid that had money for stuff. Huh. You know, that's how, you know, my band got good equipment, you know, when I was 15, 16 years old. You know, I had a few guitars.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Well, at what point were you like starting to learn instruments and maybe write songs and all that?
Yeah. So, man, I started jamming with some friends in like 8th grade.
Okay.
You know, it's like 13 is that weird year, at least for me and some of my other friends, were 13, 14. It's kind of that age where it's like, oh, okay, this kind of, at least in my experience, that kind of, that 2-year period kind of shaped what my interest would be. I remember, you know, I had an acoustic guitar, and I actually got my first electric guitar. My uncle gifted it. It was an old one he had, like from the 60s, an old Tisco, like a cheap Sears guitar. I don't think anybody knew I was really serious about playing guitar at that age. They're like, oh yeah, Scotty kind of wants to mess around. But yeah, I think that my friends and I really dug in pretty hard, and we started a band when we were 14.
Huh. Well, what was that band?
Huh. Well, the band was called Special Edward, and it was like early screamo, but it wasn't really, I say screamo, but this is like, I'm trying to remember like who was around. Like the band Refused was around, or At the Drive-In was around.
Okay.
Like I feel like screamo got hijacked by bands that I really don't like.
Oh, interesting.
You know, so we were sort of like into, like I said, Refused, At the Drive-In.
Was it screamo because nobody had developed their vocal skills, or just really liked that kind of stuff?
We kind of morphed into that. We had an additional guitar player that joined the band, and he really couldn't sing. So he screamed, you know. We noticed like at our live shows, it just sort of happened. We were playing, trying to remember what clubs we were playing. We were playing like Galaxy Club in Deep Ellum. We were playing the Aardvark in Fort Worth. Couldn't quite get into Curtain Club yet. This is like when we were like 17. And he just started screaming on the mic. You know, we were playing heavy songs, and all of a sudden you would hear this thunderous sound from hell, and I look over, and it was Steven, and I was like, good God, man. But people dug it. People liked it, you know, so.
Right, it was like a raw energy.
It was very raw.
Yeah.
And I would jump into the crowd and hurt myself, crowd surf. One time I got dropped upside down. It hit my head, had a concussion.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, we were really like performance art. I know it sounds pretty pretentious for a 17, 18-year-old.
You're coming from an artistic background. It's not that strange.
Yeah, we were, and we loved it, man. It was some really good memories.
Yeah, okay. And then that band kind of ran its course. Is that when the Orange kind of started?
Yeah, so that, you know, Special Edward got to the point where we were playing around Texas. We did some tours, actually with some bands that kind of went on to really do it. We got a management contract and everything, but you know, we were kids, and I was also going to college. So I kind of wanted to pursue that from an early age, and so I think when we broke up I was like 20, I think, and then I started the Orange when I was 22 with the guitar player, another guy that was in Special Edward, who was my best friend, Aaron. Yeah, and that was kind of like the band that I really invested a lot into, you know, at least at that point in my life.
Wait, okay, so I want to pause for a second, because like it didn't. Your dad was an artist, but it wasn't like he wasn't a scholar type guy, was he? I mean, like, where did this like thirst for education come from?
I really don't know. My grandfather was, or is, I mean, he's still alive. He was an environmental scientist. So he was kind of the one that was always pushing books and talking about. But I mean, my dad he wasn't a scholar, but he was very interested in like art history and history in general. So I guess what I just finished up with was humanities with a focus on art curation and writing.
Okay.
Literature, writing. I don't know, man. Like I said, that age 13, 14, I like got moved up to an honors English class, I remember, and my parents were really supportive, and so they got me a lot of the reading materials that summer before I went into that. I got from like 7th to 8th grade, I got moved into honors everything, but I got kicked out of honors English because I failed honors math. Which was algebra. You couldn't be in both. You couldn't be in one and not in the other.
Right.
And so, I loved English. I loved poetry. I loved reading and writing, even in an early age, I would say.
Right.
But I couldn't, when I was in high school, I had to be in sort of like the normal classes because I wasn't in advanced mathematics.
Right. And at that point, though, like the only writing you're really doing is songs?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Okay. All right. So Orange. Like that did pretty well.
God,
right?
Where do I start with the Orange?
Yeah.
Once again, we were very young, started the
your
band.
Your sister was in this band?
Yeah, she eventually found her way into the Orange. The Orange had several, there were several versions of the Orange. The very first version was, it was like, again, really good friends in the band. Did a couple of tours, of course, around Texas, but we went to New York and stuff. Did some showcases. Almost got signed, again to I remember we got offered a record deal in 2008, and it was a digital record deal, and it's before everything went digital. And so our manager called me, and he was like, "I have a deal if you guys want to go digital," and I was like, no, I don't think so. We want a real record deal. We want our records to be released in physical form. And it's so funny because later on, everything went digital.
Sure.
I forgot what label it was that offered it to us, but we passed on it. And then I think that first version of the Orange kind of split up because the lead guitar player, Aaron, who was in Special Edward, he had graduated college and became a civil engineer. So he got this great job, and I really wasn't done with school yet. And so we just kind of called it. And then the second version of the Orange, it's so weird how all of these things, now that we're really talking about it, it all does sort of go back to scholastic pursuits. I was trying to finish my undergraduate degree at UNT, which was literature, English literature. And I got this random call from a promoter in College Station, and I hadn't played a show. I hadn't done anything in a year. And he calls me, and I pick up, and he's like, are you in that band, The Orange? And I was like, who's this guy? I'm like, yeah, I'm in that band. He goes, y'all still playing? And before I said no, I was like, well, we're on a little bit of a break right now, doing some other things. What's going on? And he goes, well, I'm a promoter in College Station, and I've got this show for you. And I owed UNT $3,000 for my tuition. And somehow this guy was like, I've got a gig for you that it was like a weird music festival. And I was like, well, what's the pay? He goes, $3,000. And I said, really? Well, that sounds good, sir. And so, it was like in the middle of summer. And so what I did was, man, I put an ad out. This is back when Craigslist was a thing.
Right.
I put an ad out on Craigslist, and I was like, looking for drummer, lead guitar player, bass player. We'll pay you $300 to play one gig. And this is like back in 2010 when, you're lucky if your band, if you're not bringing hundreds and hundreds of people, you get paid $300 for the whole band,
sure.
less sometimes, much less. So I had all these musicians hit me up, and they're like, yeah, man, I'll play the gig or whatever. And then a few of them really worked out. And so I of the $3,000, I paid each of them $300 each, and then I had $2,100, which I gave to UNT, and then very luckily I sold one of my paintings to cover the rest of it, and that was my final semester of
Very nice.
school. So the Orange coming back together that second time was really a product of me scrambling for tuition money to finish my undergraduate degree.
Wow, rock and roll does pay. That's interesting.
And then, I was like, well, man, I like these dudes. Like, we're having a pretty good time, and we were bringing a lot of people to our shows. Why don't we just keep going? And so we did. And, there were some member changes and stuff, and it eventually turned into, another situation where it's, almost, a Dallas headliner band playing big shows, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was a big chunk of my life.
Huh. That's cool. And you guys like dominated Deep Ellum, it seems like. Were you touring as well, or?
That version, yeah. I mean, again, of course, we would always go around Texas and play shows. And we did a series of shows out to Los Angeles and back. We really, again, we were sort of in a situation where at this point we were in our, the band members were like mid to late 20s. So it was a little harder to get out, because people had, normal adult financial responsibilities, rent, car payments, things like that.
Sure.
So we weren't able to tour as much, but I mean, we did get to the point where, again, we almost got this time a major recording contract, but it just didn't work out, unfortunately.
Right.
Or maybe fortunately, I don't know. Most of my friends that were signed to major labels, I only know one band that it really worked out pretty well for.
Huh.
Of all the people we played with over the years.
Yeah. And then I've heard this story before, but for the people that didn't, that lawyer manager guy that wanted to sign you, he had some. Well, go ahead.
Man, so it was like, this is like right around about a decade ago now. God, it's amazing how time flies. And you see in movies, people get those calls. They're always waiting for that call, like the musician that's waiting for the call that'll change your life, Well, I was hanging out with my girlfriend at the time, and I just got a random call, middle of the day, man. I'm like out eating and drinking, or I don't know, enjoying my day. And I just get a random call, and it's a I noticed it's a New York area code, and I pick up. And I'm not going to say any names, but it's an entertainment attorney that has worked with a lot of the bigger Dallas bands, especially ones from the 90s, that like really did it. And he calls, and for those of you listening that maybe know who this is, or you were in a 90s Deep Ellum band, his voice is like this. He's like, "Is your name Scott?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is Scott. It's Scott Tucker. You're the singer of the Orange." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the singer of the Orange." He goes, "This is beep," and I heard your record. And I was like, "Oh, cool." And I knew the name. I knew this guy. I'd heard of him because I'd, heard stories of how he got bands real record deals. Like,
right.
And so he calls, and he's like, "I heard your record. It's fucking great." And I was like, "Awesome. Thank God." And it was finally the call that I thought I'd always been waiting for, from the over-the-top caricature of a music industry insider or whatever. And I was like, we started talking shop, and he was like, well, first I was like, well, do you think, you could help us get an indie deal with an indie label, Mm-hmm. And he goes, "No, I'm taking this one all the way to the top. It's the greatest record I heard come out of Dallas in 20 years. And I was like, oh, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah. Jeez.
And so he said, "If it was 1995, I'd have a record deal for you in a week." And I was like, awesome, man. That's great news. So he has me send over, I don't know, just some stats on the band, all of our social media stuff, all that. And he's real pumped. And, I tell all the band members, everybody's really excited. And at the time, we're getting radio play on like 97.1 The Eagle, and we're getting radio play on a little bit on KXT. Not really a lot, though. Really the Eagle. And back when the Edge was a thing, the Edge really supported us a bit. So I get this, call from him like 2 weeks later, and he's like, well, I've shopped it to all the majors, and, I don't think everybody's looked at all your social media numbers, and your social media numbers aren't enough to get you like a real record deal.
Jeez.
And I'm like, and he told me, he's like, do whatever you have to do to get those numbers up. Wink, wink, wink. And so I went back to my band and I was like, here's the situation, guys. And, we just kind of all decided like, we're not going to inflate social media numbers with bots or whatever. And I know that's like a really, if that was the door that we were supposed to, walk into and we didn't, because we didn't want to pay a few $1,000s for fake Instagram and Facebook likes, then so be it.
Yeah.
I was raised in a household of artists. So be it. Like, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Right.
I
I have integrity as an artist.
And so then who did he sign instead?
Well, I know that at the time, he didn't tell me specifically, but he was shopping 3 bands, and he was like, and I'm shopping this one band from, God, I'm trying to remember where it was. Well, one of the bands he was shopping at the same time was, God, I can't, Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah.
Greta Van Fleet. And he got him the deal. And so later on, I had found another Dallas artist that I thought was amazing. And I was like, this person is primed and ready to go. Like, just for the hell of it, I'll call this dude and I'll see. And he goes, yeah, that band Greta Van Fleet. He was like, I was like, very sarcastically, I said, well, yeah, making a lot of money, aren't you? He goes, you know it. And I'm just like, whatever, man.
Yeah, integrity goes a long way, but that still kind of sucks.
Well, again, and for so many people that and I'm sure probably most of the musicians you have on this show probably have some kind of story, of something like that, where the music industry sort of offers something and then takes it back or whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Old 97s were interesting because they were saying that they think the reason that they're still together is because they never had a huge hit. That they were never a one-hit wonder to anybody. They had some songs that stand out, but I think they credit their longevity to not having a one huge monster hit. So I thought that's the closest thing I can think of for
yeah,
that.
no, I respect that. I think that it takes a lot to keep. First off, it takes a lot to keep a band together.
Yeah. God.
If you,
I'm so relieved that I don't think about having to do that anymore. I did that for like 20 years, just keeping bands together. It's a lot.
Yeah, everybody has their own set of expectations for life and their own ideals, their own dreams.
And their own drive.
Yeah. Some people, want to just show up and play and leave, and they're good players. That's fine. Some people want to, play on the weekends. I can go on and on, but it's just really hard. If I was to do it all over again, I would probably have a different approach than the approach that I took.
Well, you're doing it all over again in a way with Aztec Milk Temple. Like, what's the genesis of that band?
Yeah, so Milk Temple is a little bit of a different approach than I took with the Orange. With the Orange, it was very. We practice twice a week. We play a lot of shows. With Milk Temple, it's more loosey-goosey. I've got some really talented musicians that I play with, and Braxton, the drummer of Milk Temple, sort of liked the Orange a lot. And I had an art gallery. After the Orange broke up, I sort of like recovered my life a little bit, became a responsible person again. And then I opened an art gallery briefly, and Braxton used to hang out at this art gallery, and he sort of, I wouldn't say he talked me into it, but he kind of talked me into being in a band again, because I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore.
Sure.
And so I had written an entire record for the follow-up to the Orange's Sharing Vitamins, and we just kind of like started playing together after art gallery shows downstairs, because I lived upstairs and the gallery was downstairs, and we just jam. I'd have parties upstairs, man, and we just jam. And he finally was, I was like, look, I'll be in the band if you'll go in for a rehearsal space with me, because I still like to play guitar, you know, and write songs. We'll start this band. And so he did. We went halfers in a rehearsal space, and then Vince, the bass player, came along, and then Matt eventually came along, and we just didn't have the kind of like really, what's the right word? Rigid lines to toe that we did in the Orange. Also, the Orange had a lot of bills. Like we had a van, we had a trailer, we had a really nice rehearsal space. You know, so we had to constantly play shows and make money.
Right. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I had my college tuition to pay for.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's why everyone gets in bands to pay for college, of course.
I know, right? That's a weird one. I really haven't thought about that one in a while, but as you brought it up, I remembered that. Yeah. Random.
I mean, and so like we kind of skipped over it, but you had art gallery, like you're throwing art shows, you're doing art, but you're also curating shows.
Yeah, I know this. We're really taking it's kind of a roundabout way of looking at it. So during the second version of the Orange, like I said, I played that show and I sold a painting to go back to college. Well, I was studying English and art, and my dream was to open an art gallery. That was a dream for a long, long time, and I worked towards that. What I would do is I was working a retail job at Neiman Marcus, and I was pretty decent. I was pretty good at what I did there, and so I developed a great list of clients. And so what I did was I had this art gallery, this art show, my first one actually here in Deep Ellum at Kettle Art.
Oh, nice.
Frank, gave me this great opportunity, and I had my first like solo art exhibit at Kettle Art Gallery in like 2010, I think. Right when I was trying to finish school, like that, all of it kind of happened at the same time. And I sort of invited my client list from Neiman's, and I was selling paintings, and people were commissioning me art, paintings, and various projects. And I got into an art show in New York City. It was a group show, but I went to New York and showed there, and I came back and I just kept building, because I graduated college in 2011, and then I just went like hardcore. Half my time was for the Orange, the other half was developing an art gallery. And by 2013 or the end of 2012, I opened my first gallery with a partner who really invited me into this beautiful space. And it was called Blow Up Gallery. It was really cool because it was like young Dallas art culture. And then we would do shows with the Orange. And at this time, man, the Orange was playing at like the House of Blues main stage and like big shows. And so one night, I forgot what night it was, but like one night we had this huge opening at Blow Up Gallery. The next night, everybody came to see the Orange at the House of Blues, and afterwards we all partied at the Foundation Room. So it was like this really cool time in Dallas where there was a lot of really young artists and musicians that all did things together. Yeah. And I just loved the synergy that was happening, and I think it's happening again. But
yeah, well, I mean, to that end, you're working with a new gallery, art gallery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess this also kind of goes back to the Orange. So James Maker hung out with the Orange a lot back when we were doing Sharing Vitamins, that whole record. And he was a young artist. He also went to UTD studying art, and he was working on this amazing, he had this great idea for a massive sculpture. And how all of it kind of came about, he, at my second gallery, Interspace Projects, I gave him his first show, solo show. And nice. He built these two massive hands touching a television. And it was like, the piece was called TV is God. So last year when Aztec Milk Temple released our first record, I asked him if we could use that piece for the cover of our record, and he was like, Absolutely. So, we kind of we got to talking about art again, and he called me in January. He was like, "Man, I've got a great thing to tell you." And I was like, "Well, what's going on?" He said, "I am opening my own art gallery, ARC." And he was like, "You helped me out early off in my career, and I would love it if you curated the first show at ARC."
Nice.
And so that's how I got involved with ARC, and I was kind of obviously at the, like, not the end, but close to the end of my master's degree from UTD. And that show, it was called Psychic Fissures. The show was more or less like my thesis for my master's degree.
Yeah. I like how you wind everything in your life together. Like, it makes sense, but also I feel like you could look at it as separate things, but that's not how you approach it, I feel like you've told me this before, how you kind of look at yourself as an artist, like what's the way you were saying it? Like, how it's a whole, you know what I'm talking about? Like you...
Well, I feel that every artist, musician, writer, anything really, anything, it's a creative practice.
Right, creative practice.
Creative practice, and the practice can go in whatever direction you want it to. It could be prose, it could be poetry, it could be a painting, it could be a record. So I feel that bands are very limiting, because the Orange or Aztec Milk Temple, it's an entity, but a creative practice basically is like I bring the same energy to whatever I do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I just like how it intertwines, and how like there's like one thing feeds the other thing, and even
thank you.
There's a time where the audience is feeding the audience of the other projects, and it's cool. And to that end, somewhere along the line, you started writing in the Dallas Observer and other publications. Like, again, this is an Orange related story, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of starts. It all started with the Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Orange, our favorite club, my favorite club to play, and with Special Edward, was the Curtain Club, man. Old rocker club. Yep. Smells like beer and cleaning products. You walk in there, and it used to smell like cigarette smoke, and I loved it, man. There was nothing better than and a lot of musicians complain about this. I'm not even a smoker, but I love the smell of cigarette smoke. When the curtains at the Curtain Club would open up, especially if it was a packed house, man, that cloud of cigarette smoke would hit you, and it was on. Like, the show was on, and you knew it. Like,
right.
Every sense, well, at least when I played, because I was just a front man, every sense that I felt the second that cloud of smoke hit me, and it was like showtime. But the Curtain Club was unfortunately shutting down. It was being shut down, and I wanted to make sure that an article was written from a place of authenticity about it. So Eva Raggio, who at the time was the arts and culture editor of the Dallas Observer, good friend of mine, she had done an article or a couple of articles on the Orange. And so I reached out to her, and I'd see her around town and stuff. I reached out to her, and I was like, I know this is random, but you have to let me write the story on the Curtain Club closing. And she was like, what do you know how to write? And I was like, I have an English degree. Does that count?
But you hadn't written any articles before that?
No, never.
Okay.
Never. But the idea of a creative practice. If I could paint, I could write an article. If I could write an article, I could front a band.
Right.
It's the same. They all kind of exist in the same space, at least in my brain.
Yeah.
So I cranked out this article in the Curtain Club, and I really thought about it, man. I really thought about what that room meant to a lot of people, and that was my first published piece, and then it did pretty well. So Eva calls me the next week. She was like, wow, that was pretty good. You got anything else? And it spiraled from there. I had a piece published last week. I mean, I've written for him now for 6 years.
Yeah. And then we got some stuff there. We got you managed to get an interview in Alternative Tentacles No,
Alternative
I'm
Press.
thinking of like Jalopy Opera's.
Yeah, that was cool because I used to read alternative press a lot when I was a teenager, and
Yeah.
it's like Incubus and alternative press, or and then you and I collaborated Jane's Addiction.
Yep.
And
The late great Jane's Addiction at this point.
I did a few interviews with Perry and with everybody in Jane's except for Dave Navarro, and I would say that first off, I loved our conversations. His publicist would always have to intervene like an hour in and be like, "Hey Perry, get off the phone! Like you have another interview." But we could talk for hours.
Yeah,
he's a true artist.
I can see him. Yeah, in the same vein as what you're talking about, where he had different. I got to give him a penny to weigh down his needle as a DJ at a private party once. That was my interaction with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Was that when you were living in L.A.?
Yeah, it was actually like this weird, like fundraiser at some Jewish community center, and like me and Andy Dick were doing songs, and then Perry like moonwalks into one of our songs we're rehearsing, and then he's like, "You got a penny?" And I had a penny back then, and and it was really weird because he performed on this like lectern, and he had his like sampler thing, but no reverb. So I heard him do a whole set with no delay or reverb. It was so bizarre.
Oh wow!
Thing,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he's a deeply spiritual man.
Yeah.
Deeply spiritual.
But unfortunately, the wine got the better of him recently.
Well, what artist does it not?
Well, I mean, fair. That's a fair point.
No, I have deep respect for everybody in Jane's Addiction. I think they're all just fantastic musicians.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to shoot them full original members only weeks before they had that incident. So that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still gonna have to get one of those prints from you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. We're getting kind of near the end. You're going to do a song though, right? And you just talked to the singer of Heart, I believe.
Nancy Wilson, the guitar player, and she does sing.
Yeah,
she sang "These Dreams."
Oh, God,
that was her
a good song. Yeah,
yeah, that's a great song. I love that song.
But I remember you saying that she was a fan of this song you're going to play.
Yeah, so I don't normally talk to musicians about my band because it seems like, hey man, check out my band,
Right.
But if an interview goes really well and we start talking about sort of like the nuances of things like different guitar tunings, or what kind of pedals are good with what, generally it comes up, well, do you play, or something like that. So Nancy and I, it was kind of cool because I had her, she did a series of interviews that day, and I was her last interview, and I try to be very like, what's the right word? Like they only have so much time, so you write too, but she was like, no, I have the rest of the evening to talk, and so her and I really talked for a long time.
Oh, nice.
And it came up that I played in this band Aztec Milk Temple, and so she. After I got off the phone with her, like maybe an hour later, her publicist sent me an email, and she was like, "Nancy really liked that song someplace."
Huh.
She said it's a great song, so it's kind of cool. Every once in a while, musicians will reach out about that. I'm trying to remember. Perry Farrell listened to Milk, the Aztec Milk Temple song "Milk," and really liked it a lot. He had very specific notes about it, which was really cool.
Wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so what's next for you? Like, what's your next pursuit? What's your next art?
That's a great question.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, I'm, like I said, I'm 3 weeks out of school. There are some things I'm looking at. There's a couple of art projects I really want to pursue. I know that I am the next, immediate thing I have. I am going to be showing art at Arc Gallery. I'm collaborating with a Vietnamese artist named Bachan Vo. Actually, right after this, I'm going to her studio to work on this piece. We're collaborating on a sculpture.
Oh, wow.
And that's going to be shown at Arc Gallery in, I think, late October, mid-October to late October. Actually, through the end of the year, I'm pretty sure. But Aztec Milk Temple has 2 singles that we're going to release in the near future. They're done. They just need to be some dates need to be set up. And I am considering, I'm looking at all my options. It's so funny. My academic advisor wrote to me a couple days ago, and she was like, Scott, come on in and we'll sit down and we can sit down and talk about another master's degree or another PhD or a PhD. And I'm like,
jeez. Wow.
I can't stress it enough. I really enjoyed my time at UTD, and I think it was really cool to find the intersection of where my actual interests in academia kind of meet, and if anyone's thinking about going back to school, I especially right now, like I can't encourage it enough, really.
Let's end on this one. Like, is there something that you need to knock off your list and then you'll be like, I've made it, I'm successful? Or are you already there? Or like,
I try not to really think about those sorts of things. Our time is so limited. I just want every day to have value and meaning. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I think
total cop out, but okay.
No, and I get that. I think when I was younger, like there were all these markers that I would set, and I still do. Like I would be lying if
goals,
I said I didn't.
Right?
When I started the thing 2 years ago, I was like, I'm going to graduate, with a really good GPA, and I'm doing that. So, or when I was 20, it was like, I'm going to headline the Curtain Club. And I did. I did it many times.
Like that for you in your future?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm sure there is. I'll think of it tomorrow.
Oh, great. You can comment on the post when it comes out.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just sort of enjoying the afterglow of finishing grad school.
Yeah, that was a lot. Well, hey, Scott, I'm glad. For those who don't know, the third time we've had this chat, but the first time anyone's going to see it. Stick around for, is it Someplace?
Yeah, Someplace.
Yeah, we're going to hear that in a minute. And thanks again for coming. And we'll have links to check out all of Scott's stuff and, all that fun things we do.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I know you've had some great guests, and it's great to be on the show.
Yep, right on. Appreciate it.
With the old, I think I've met you before. Been here 1,000 times before. So really, what's once more? The future belongs to the bold. Ways that we felt untold. I've been searching while others are searching. Life is a circle at most. Life is a circle at most. There's some place not far from here. There's some place not far from here. There's some place not far from here. go. We can go, we can go, we can go. Time is a patient soul. Words need time to grow. Time is in service to people with purpose. Or life is a circle at most. Life is a circle at most. Time, the only ghost. Time, the Holy Ghost. There's someplace not far from here. There's someplace not far from here. There's someplace not far from here. We can go, we can go, we can go. There's someplace not far from here. There's someplace not far from here. Someplace not far from here. We can go, we can go, we can go. We can go, we can go, we can go. We can go, we can go, we can go. We can go, can go.
I'd like to thank Scott Tucker for joining us and playing a song. You can check out all his stuff on the show links. Thank you to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record here. Theme song, Unstoppable by Salim Nirala, and the outro is The Place to Be by Electric Ants. Thanks again to the Mullen & Mullen Music Project for their support. Like, subscribe, and share the podcast, and we'll see you next week.